Hi guys, my name is Daniel from DB Design and I would like to give you a short tutorial on how you can create our GDPR plugin. There are many questions how to set up the plugin, how to work with it, and a video is most of the time better than a text. So let us start with how to, of course, set up the plugin but also install the plugin. First of all, many know this, you go to install plugins and then you will have to select our zip file that you have downloaded from Code Canyon, for example, and then you just upload it and install it. After that, the plugin will appear, of course, in the plugins list. Oh, not that one, of course, it's the WordPress GDPR plugin you can see here, and it will ask you to install the Redux framework. The Redux framework, which you can see here, is freely available on WordPress. It is a high-performance admin panel with which we have created our nice looking and nice to manage settings menu for the GDPR. And the Redux framework is necessary for the plugin to work. And you can see it in action, of course, here. So the options, of course, come from us, but all the functionality behind this is done by Redux, and we are using it since years, and we have a very high experience with it, and it's one of the best things out there to get an easy to manage admin panel, of course. So the first thing you should do is when you go to the GDPR settings menu, you can see here, you can go to the general section, and then you should place your domain name here. This will be used to delete cookies that are set by your domain. So in my example here, you can see it puts in plugins.dbdesign.com because it always takes the domain you have. But you should remove the subfolder in the front so that it just is dbdesign.com. You can check your domain name when you go, for example, in your browser console. Then you click on application. I use Chrome here, and you can see here what cookies will be set, and here you can see the domain name. So for example, I have some old DB Design things here, but you can see here also it's using plugins.dbdesign.com. So that is why you should put here in dbdesign.com or your domain without the subdomain. Then you have the possibility to enable reCAPTCHA for forms. You can allow cookies for all users who are visiting your site the first time. That should not be enabled by default. I mean, you need a consent from your users if you want to have it installed or not. So beware of this. I would suggest not to use it, but of course you will lose analytics traffic and so on, so you may use it if you are on the own risk or if your lawyer says it's okay. It's very mixed up with the lawyers what they say, as you know, maybe. Then we have some other things that you can allow cookies for all logged in users. So for example, for other administrators or something like that. By default, all admins are cookies allowed. So, but if you check this, you can have it for other roles like shop admins or something like that. Depends on your needs, of course. Then you will have some custom allowed cookies. We will come to this later. By default, you have the WordPress test cookie that is looking for if cookies are allowed by WordPress. You have the WordPress logged in cookie and the WordPress sec cookie. And you can set own cookies by inserting them by a comma. It will search by regular expressions. So if this string here, for example, is seen in your cookies, it will not delete them. So this prevents that users get logged out immediately for WooCommerce, for example, if they are logged in. And you can here set your cookie lifetime. And now we come to the important part. If you have done this, you can click this button here to install all pages that are needed. So I will explain it a bit before we start clicking the button. So close this down. So this here are all pages created by our plugin, and you can see here are many, and you may not need all, but if you click on the button here to install all pages, it will redirect you to your pages site, and you can see that these sites here you can see that are under the Privacy Center will get created automatically. Of course, there is no cookie policy in it, there is no privacy policy in it, because you have to create it yourself, because it is very dependent on what services you use and so on. But the most important parts, like the forget me form here, you can see that our tool automatically puts the shortcut into it. And what's even best, it also assigns it directly into our settings. So when I go back here into the settings, and I will, for example, jump into the Privacy Center, that is the page you can see here, the Privacy Center. Then you can see it automatically puts the page assigned to it and also the shortcut. So this page, of course, should always be enabled. Another example, the contact PDO form, where you can here see, okay, it automatically assigned the contact PDO page. If you have no page assigned here, or if you disabled it, for example, then you can see that it automatically gets removed here also. I re-enable it again for our demo. Of course, it's important to see that we have this. So every part of here, or most of the parts, are pages that you can set up and activate or deactivate, and you can set emails and email subjects and so on. For example, you can set the cookie policy if you want. Now to that I will come later. You have rectification to update user data if you want. You can set a disclaimer page, a DMCA page, a forget me page, and everything you want to have. So most of the parts here are for the pages, but we also have some other things like the pop-up, for example. The pop-up you can see here, that is the pop-up that will pop up if the user has not clicked on I accept or I decline, or if he has not set any privacy settings here. It will, for example, be customizable and so on. If I click here on accept, then you can see here on the bottom, which is the privacy settings module fly out, as we call it, you can see what kind of cookies will be set. And the user can, for example, disable own integrations. But we will come to that later. What's more importantly is you can here exclude pages. You can hide this fly out modal as we saw it before, the one with the slide out menu top on the bottom right. You can set the texts, of course. If you leave out text here, then you can put your own text in it. Then you have the pop-up styles. So you can say if you want to have it as an overlay, or if you want to have it as a small width, for example. I can show you a small width example. If I change now the way it looks, you can see it will be shown here and not more in the center menu as an overlay. Or you can have it full width, also at the bottom here. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that looks a bit strange because I have put some own custom CSS for the overlay now, but you can see that it will be on the bottom here and in full width. I will jump it back to the overlay as it looks better now. Okay, very good. So what's more to say about the pop-up? The pop-up it can be hidden from non-European guys. So we have an expert settings here, and here we have an option to use GeoIP to show the pop-up only for EU citizens. So if you activated it, then only EU citizens will also see the pop-up, and none of the other people will see the pop-up. For example, users from USA or Canada or something like that. If we go further, I can show you confirmation mail settings. If, for example, someone wants to delete his data or wants to erase his data, you know they are going to the form here, they are going to the forget me form, and you know everybody can fill out the form with an email address. So what we need to have is a confirmation that the user really wants to forget his data, and that is where the confirmation email will be set up here. So user gets a confirmation email. If they click on it, you will see it in the backend that a email is also confirmed there. I can show it here. Is the GDPR request. That is our own internal request settings. So here you will see, for example, email confirmed, not needed for DPO requests. But if we jump to a data request, for example, as we can see it here, no, it says no, the email was not confirmed, and the status is still on done. So that is the most important part. So you should not delete or send data if the email was not confirmed, because you know many people can fill out any email address forms for friends or something like that. What else can I show you? Data breach. You can send out data breach emails to all the users in your system. Here you can configure it, what text should be in, what subject could be in. You have data retention. That means that after, for example, here 1080 days, so 3 years, in our example, all users will be deleted if they have not logged in. And the most important thing is, if you activate this, you should press this button here, because it will fill up all users with the current date, so they will not be deleted in the next time. I mean, we check if it's not empty or something like that, but of course you should press this, otherwise it will not work if user has not logged in since 5 years or something like that. Just an example. What else do we have? We have the forget me form, of course. That was the request you have seen here, where the user fills out his data. And you can check here what data should be deleted. Delete comments, delete posts and pages. You can also disable the user exists check. So if you disable it, everybody with an email can make a request. Otherwise, we are checking if the user exists in your system as an own WordPress user account, of course. And then we will check if he exists or not. And if he not exists, then we will not allow the request. If you enable it here, for example, everybody with an email can send a request. Of course, it has to be confirmed. Then we have, I will come back to the integrations later, because that's a bigger point here. You can set up a media credits page, privacy policy page, of course. You can send out a privacy policy update. So, for example, we have updated our privacy policy. You can read more, insert your link. Just a small example if you want to use it. You have the request data archive. You also have an option to export the data as an HTML table. And you have an option to disable the user check here also. So everybody can, with an email, of course, request a data request. And you have, now we come to the bigger part, of course, terms and conditions, and you have an unsubscribe form. For MailChimp, you can use a simple iframe there. That's not the big part. But we also have integrations to MailPoet, for example, or other big partners of WordPress emailing systems. So let us jump into the integrations. Let me deactivate everything first. So in our example here, we have integrations for the comments of WordPress. So if you check this, then you have a checkbox on the comments page that the user has to agree to the privacy policy before you made a comment. We have a WooCommerce integration, where you can say you want to delete WooCommerce orders, add checkboxes to checkout or registration, and so on. And you can disable the guest checkout, which is very important, because if you do not do this, then you have no users in your system, because WooCommerce will save the data as own meta fields without creating an own user for it. There are many options. You can also set an own privacy policy here, and you can set a custom text here. Then we have Cloudflare. We, for example, on our website use Cloudflare. And if I enable it and go to the privacy settings, you can see here that Cloudflare is enabled, and Cloudflare needs this technical CFDUID cookie, because with that it determines if caching should be enabled or not, and very, very strictly necessary for Cloudflare to use it. So if you have it, please check it, because otherwise our plugin tries to remove it, which should not be very good. You can also see the technical cookies that we have set up before, the WordPress test cookie and so on. So these ones are enabled and you cannot disable it because they are strictly necessary for the website to work. And then we can go to the other integrations. We have Contact Form 7, BuddyPress, FlamingoDB, QuoForm, Formidable, all the form plugins. We have Mailstar, and now we come to an important part. It's the Google Analytics. So when you enable Google Analytics, you should put your Analytics tag inside this Analytics code field here, and you should check inside your source code of the website if there is no other code of Analytics existing. So you can go to your site and click on search this quell text. You can search for something like GTag or GA, and if you do not find anything, then you're okay. Otherwise, please check your plugins, your themes, and everything that could use Analytics code and remove it completely, because otherwise it will still firing up if you don't need it and the user does not want it. Because if we put it here inside, then you might suggest it put it also into the source code if it's enabled, but it does not. The Google Analytics code, as it's enabled here on my demo, for example, will be put into the head element if we have the enabled check. So if we search into the live code here, for example, then we can see here GTag that the Google Analytics tag has been added, and that is only on the live code, so it's still working, of course, but you do not see it in the source code because otherwise it will render all the time, also for caching plugins and so on. You can also have AdWords, of course, and the rest of the parts here is like the Analytics, so you can put own custom codes here for AdWords, Tag Manager. Tag Manager requires a body code also, Hotjar code, Facebook Pixel, Pivik, AdSense, and now we are coming to important part. We have custom integrations. So here, for example, you can put a custom name like my custom script. Then you place here the code of your custom script, and you can tell the reason for the custom script. This will also then be, of course, pop up here inside the privacy settings. And if you have enabled it, it will also pop up here in the flyout model, which is always visible, of course, if you have enabled. And you can here still check or uncheck the boxes. I think that was nearly it. One thing I may mention is in the expert settings, you can use the VP core functions. This requires WordPress 4.9.6 or higher. If I will enable this, then the GDPR requests menu here will be removed. So you do not have any possibility to use our own request section, and you will then use the request section from WordPress itself. I will not recommend this to you because first, you do not have every data inside here. Because it's VP Core, for example, WooCommerce data will be missing, or QuoForm data will be missing, or Contact Form 7 items will be missing. So it's mainly if you do not use any other third-party scripts, then you can use it. Otherwise, please do not use it. One thing I can show you also is the GDPR request section. We just seen it before. But here is everything where the requests will be stored. So for get me, DPO, contact request, or export and everything. And here you have an action setting. So here you can export data, you can send data, or you can set things to manually done. For example, a DPO contact request. And you also have the forget me request. I'm not sure if something here is on my demo. No, it's not, but when you click on the button there, then it will remove the data for the user, of course. You also have a user section where you can see all users, you can see their name, their email, and when they have last logged in. And you can see the consents they have given to you. So for example, cookies declined, analytics allowed, and so on. And here you can also delete data, export data, or send data directly. This gives you the possibility to delete a data if someone maybe calls you or something like that, and he does not want to fill out a form. So then you can go here, export the data for him, and send it by an email manually, for example. I can show you on the front page maybe some things that you have not seen. So this is everything covered by our plugin. And as I said, for example, the cookie policy, this is just sample text. You, of course, need to create it on your own. And I hope this little tutorial helped you a bit, explaining our GDPR plugin, also for the backend side, which is kind of complicated because many new features will be added all the day. But I hope you like it, and please enjoy our plugin.